it is common to see a green cover growing over rocks, bricks and walls after heavy showers. This green cover is nothing but moss, which is a type of bryophyte. Bryophytes are plants that usually grow in damp, humid and shaded localities. They are also called amphibians of the plant kingdom because though bryophytes grow in soil, they need a moist habitat for sexual reproduction. Let's now take a look at the different parts of a bryophyte. The plant body is thallus-like and is either prostrate or erect. It is attached to the substratum by unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. The plant body does not have true roots, stem or leaves, but possesses similar structures. The main plant body of a bryophyte is haploid. It is also called a gametophyte as it produces gametes. The plant body has both male and female gametophytes, which bear the male and female sex organs respectively. The male sex organs are called the antheridia, and they produce biflagellate antherozoids. The female sex organs, called the archegonia, are flask-shaped and each produces a single egg. During fertilization, the antheridium releases antherozoids in water where they come into contact with the mouth of the archegonium. One antherozoid fuses with the egg to form a zygote. The zygote in turn produces a multicellular body called the sporophyte. The sporophyte gets its nutrition from the gametophyte. Some cells of the sporophyte undergo meiosis to produce haploid spores. These spores germinate to produce a gametophyte. Bryophytes are of two types: liverworts and mosses. You can find liverworts in moist and shady environs such as barks of trees. The plant body, a thallus, is dorsiventral and oppressed to the substrate. However, in the case of leafy liverworts, the plant body bears tiny leaf-like appendages in two rows on the stem-like structures. Liverworts reproduce both asexually and sexually. In the case of asexual reproduction, we observe fragmentation of the thallus. Asexual reproduction also occurs when gametes are formed. They are green, multicellular, asexual buds that separate from the parent and develop into new individuals. They develop in small receptacles called gemma cups located on the thallus. In the case of sexual reproduction, the male and female sex organs are produced either on the same or on different thallus. Mosses are another type of bryophytes. Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum are some common species of moss. A moss undergoes several stages in life, wherein the gametophyte stage is the most predominant one. The gametophyte stage has two substages, protonema and leafy stage. In the protonema stage, the spore develops into a protonema, a thread-like chain of cells. The protonema is creeping, green, branched, and filamentous. The second stage is the leafy stage, where the primary protonema develops into the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. The buds consist of upright, slender axes that bear spirally arranged leaves attached to the soil through branched rhizoids. The sexual organs develop during the leafy stage. Mosses reproduce vegetatively and sexually. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema. In sexual reproduction, the male and female sex organs are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. Let's now look at the uses and importance of bryophytes. Moss such as sphagnum provides peat, which is used as fuel. Moss also form a dense mat, thereby allowing rainwater to percolate into the ground. This prevents rainwater from running off and the subsequent soil erosion. Bryophytes such as moss are also ecologically important as, along with lichens, they are always the first to colonize rocks. Moreover, they decompose the rocks and make the area suitable for the growth of higher plants. Thus, we have seen that bryophytes have several uses. You have probably seen ferns growing in gardens or in someone's backyard. Ferns are a type of pteridophyte. Pteridophytes are plants that flourish in a damp, cool and shady habitat, although some species also grow in sandy soil conditions. They occupy a special place in plant evolution, as they were the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues and true root, stem and leaves. The leaves of a pteridophyte are large as in ferns or small as in the case of Selaginella. Pteridophytes are widely used as ornamental plants, soil binders, and for medicinal purposes. Based on the organization of the plant body, including the nature of the leaf and location of sporangia, they are classified as Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, and Pteropsida. The life cycle of a pteridophyte begins when the plant body, a sporophyte, bears sporangia, which are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. However, in some genera like Equisetum, sporophylls might form distinct and compact structures called strobili or cones. The sporangia produce spores in spore mother cells by meiosis, which germinate into gametophytes called prothallus, a small, multicellular, free-living and mainly photosynthetic gametophyte which grows only in cool, damp and shady places. The prothallus also bears the male and female sex organs, the antheridium and archegonium. The antheridium produces the male gametes called antherozoids, whereas the archegonium produces an egg. When released, antherozoids travel through water and eventually reach the mouth of the archegonium, where each one fuses with an egg to form a zygote. This zygote develops into a young embryo, which further develops into a multicellular and well-differentiated young sporophyte, and ultimately into a mature sporophyte. This completes the life cycle of a pteridophyte, which is divided into the gametophytic phase and the sporophytic phase. the most dominant phase. Pteridophytes can be homosporous or heterosporous. Homosporous pteridophytes produce spores of similar kind, while heterosporous pteridophytes produce two different types of spores, large or megaspores and small or microspores. Megaspores germinate into female gametophytes, which produce eggs, while microspores germinate into male gametophytes, which produce antherozoids. The egg and antherozoid fuse to form a zygote, which develops into a young embryo, which then gives rise to a sporophyte. These pteridophytes occupy an important place in the plant kingdom, as they were the first plants to have true roots, stems and leaves, as well as vascular tissues. It is common to find trees such as pinus, cedrus, and cycas growing in the cooler regions of India. All of them are gymnosperms, a group of plants in which the ovules are not enclosed by an ovary wall and remain exposed or naked before fertilization, as well as post-fertilization, when they develop into seeds. These seeds germinate to give rise to new plants. If you take a look at the morphology of gymnosperms, you will notice that most of them have taproots. Moreover, in some genera, such as Pinus, the roots have a fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza, while in other genera, such as Cycas, small specialized roots called coralloid roots have an association with N2-fixing cyanobacteria. The stems of a gymnosperm can be branched or unbranched, and the leaves can be compound as in Cycas or simple as in Ginkgo. Moreover, these leaves are well adapted to withstand extreme climatic conditions as seen in balsam fir. Its needle-like leaves reduce the surface area, which in turn reduces loss of water due to transpiration. Even the thick cuticle and sunken stomata on the leaves reduce the rate of water loss. The reproductive structure of a gymnosperm is called a strobylus or a cone, and gymnosperms have both male and female strobili. Interestingly, the strobili may be borne on the same tree as seen in Pinus, or on different trees as seen in Cycas. The male strobylus has spirally arranged leaf-like structures called microsporophylls, which bear microsporangia, a structure that produces haploid microspores. A few microspores develop into male gametes called pollen grains, and the rest degenerate. Another name for male strobili is microsporangia. The female strobylus is a cluster of megasporophylls, which bears ovules containing the megasporangium or nucellus. The megasporangium, surrounded by a layer of envelopes, produces haploid megaspores, and a megaspore mother cell, which looks distinctly different from the other megaspores. The megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis to give rise to 4 haploid megaspores. One of these spores develops into a multicellular female gametophyte. The female gametophyte further bears 2 or 3 female sex organs called archegonia, which develop inside the ovule. The development of archegonia is followed by the fertilization process, during which pollen grains released from the microsporangium, are carried by air currents and come in contact with the micropyle, an opening in the ovules. A pollen tube sprouts from the pollen grain and grows towards the archegonium, where it discharges the male gametes. These gametes fuse with the egg to form a zygote. Post-fertilization, the zygote develops into an embryo and the ovule into a seed. Interestingly, gymnosperms were the first plants to have a seed habit. Today, gymnosperms are widely used to make products such as varnish and cosmetics. They also provide us with lumber that's used to make furniture.